Today on The State of Us, is beef the dying American dream? Burgers, steaks are already near record level prices, and they're set to get more expensive, according to the Wall Street Journal. The culprit is a rapidly shrinking supply of cattle. Years of persistent drought conditions, which make cattle more expensive to raise, pandemic disruptions, and widespread cost increases have prompted ranchers to sell off livestock, bringing the number of cattle in the U.S. to its lowest level in nearly a decade. Now, why should you care? That's what we're going to look at. Welcome to The State of Us. I'm your host, Justin T. Weller, joined today by the one and only, your friendly redneck liberal and the senior resident historian here at True Chat, Mr. Lance Jackson.
Well, you know why we care. It's summertime. I've had my grill out for a month.
Time to grill.
Meat.
Grill time.
Meat. Caveman.
Beef.
Yeah, your friendly
Beef time.
redneck liberal grilling meat outside. The best way to eat it. Fire and raw meat.
Fire and raw meat. What is more American?
That's right.
Than fire?
Wow. American, human, whatever. Yeah. An outside fire and throw a piece of raw meat over the hot fire and take it off of there while it still burns your mouth
cookout.
And eat, right? I mean, that's just it. And
scald your tongue so that
throw
you gotta
hamburgers
put spices
or
on it. So
steak that's like the epitome of what you want. And you're telling me that it's harder to find and more expensive?
Harder to find, more expensive. U.S. beef production is on track to drop by more than 2 billion pounds in 2024. Yes, 2 billion with a B,
Gee, many Christmas.
Pounds in 2024. That's a few pounds.
All right, so this is obviously the question has to be, come on, beef has been the staple of the American diet for a long time.
This is the biggest annual decline, Lance, since 1979, basically the Stone Age. I mean, I don't think we even know anybody that was alive before 79.
That's not even nice. That was the year I graduated from high school.
Oh, you were alive.
I was a part of that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Back in the
in the Stone Age, as you said, right? Is that what you called it? The Stone Age?
Yes. Okay. The Stone Age.
But again, we were talking in pre-production that I remember growing up and we had a lot of chicken and we had a lot of pork. And, that was because, one, that's what my dad liked because that's what my dad grew up on. But when we would have beef on the table, my dad got a steak and the rest of us, the 4 kids, got hamburgers. And we liked hamburger. We didn't ever really questioned it. But when I became a teenager, and started going out and, my girlfriend wanted steak or whatever, I'm like, why you want steak? Nobody eats steak. And, I went home and asked my mom. She goes, well, we really couldn't afford everybody to have steak. So that would have been that, early 70s time that you're talking about, beef production down in 79, the prices were so high that my father growing up never had a lot of beef because he grew up in a poor household, as did my mom. So we ate pork and chicken. And looking at the charts here in this article, that's kind of where we are right now. Again, they're saying the average beef price is just under $10.
Beef steaks are at $9.96 a pound on average. And when you compare that, Lance, to boneless chicken breast, right? $4.41 a pound for a boneless chicken breast versus $9.96 for beef steak average. Pork chops, $4.10. So chicken breasts and pork chops are very similar.
2.5 times the chicken and pork as I can a beef steak.
Well,
I mean, are we starting to say that beef is becoming the food choice of the wealthy? I mean, we've talked economically and politically on this show of the haves and the have-nots. Is it starting to become that when we go into the grocery store? Is it becoming, if you have a little bit of extra, because that's not even inflation, right? I mean, to me, that's the point. 2.5 times the price. I mean, even if inflation is at 7%, that doesn't cover the difference between $4.50 a pound and $10 a pound.
Well, just for comparison, right? In 2005, boneless chicken breasts on average, right? They were just under $3 a pound. Just under $3 a pound. Today, they're $4.41 a pound, right? In 2000. So that's perspective. Beef steaks in 2005, they were sitting right around $4.50 a pound. Today, they're $9.96 a pound.
So there wasn't much difference 20 years ago.
Right.
Between eating beef or eating chicken.
I mean, beef was still more expensive, but you were talking about $1 a pound more expensive, or like 33% maybe more expensive, not 100% more expensive.
But to your point, so wait a minute. If it's more expensive, I'm not very smart, so you have to explain this to me.
Okay.
If it's more expensive, I should the people raising the cattle should be making more money.
Oh, well.
Right? I mean, because
we already established that inflation. I mean, inflation is not the only thing that doesn't account for a doubling.
Yeah,
of
and
the
you said
price
you
of
started
beef.
the show with fewer beef are out there.
Right.
Well, that doesn't make sense. If I can sell it,
There's less cattle
For a
and the
whole-
price is higher and the demand is increasing. So those all seem like things where ranchers ought to be able to make more money.
and I think
We've done a couple shows on.
spoiler alert, that's not the case.
No.
And isn't
Ranchers are making less money today.
according to the graph, the amount of money they're making is almost as low as it's ever been in the last 25 or 30 years.
So
The amount of profit that they're making
They've got a nice-
off of this $10 steak.
they've got a nice explainer chart here, right? Which is part of why we're doing this episode, because it's got a chart, folks. In 2000, okay, well, let's just use 2005. We were using that before, so that just makes it easy for everybody to stay on the same page. In 2005, you were looking at U.S. ranchers' cattle raising operating cost, right? So what does it cost for me to raise one cow? One cow. What's that cost? In 2005, it cost somewhere around $500, okay? $500 approximately to raise one cow on average in the United States. That's what you had to spend. Now, the profit margin in 2005, okay, on that one cow, how much money did you make after you spent? You know, so I spend $500, and how much money am I going to get to keep when I sell it? Well, when you sold it in 2005, you got to keep about $100, okay? So basically, the cow costs $600 and you were able to sell it, it cost $500 and you were able to sell it for $600. So you made $100, right? So
You made 15 to 20% profit
right. So that's
per head of cattle.
15 to 20% profit, right? I mean, that's not too bad. Let's look at today though. In 2022, it cost almost $700 per cow. And the profit margin is $12
You go from making $100 a head
to
$12 a head.
And remember, that's 2005 to today. So we're not adjusting there. There's no adjustment in this for inflation.
Right.
And if you factor that in, I mean,
Well, what's that $12 really worth in
right.
2005 money?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is a cattle rancher is going to spend all this time and effort and money and basically break even.
If they're lucky.
And so then
If they're lucky.
So then why even bother to do it?
Well-
Which is why there's less cattle. I mean, is that trying to get back to my original question? This doesn't make sense. If the price is higher than it's ever been, why are they not producing more beef?
Put this another way, right? Because one of the ranchers kind of gives this example. Based on that profit margin we just explained, right, that you need to spend, that would mean that would mean, right, that if you spent $1 million and you did really well, maybe you'd make 20,000. And one of the ranchers puts it this way. His name's Ryan, and he's a rancher from Southwest Nebraska. He has 2 feedlots. And he said, we're spending about $1 million to make $4,000.
But see, that's crazy because I'm just sitting here thinking, doing the math in my head. If I go to my local bank, I can get 4% on a 6-month CD. If I had $1 million,
you'd be better off getting the CD than raising cattle.
I'd make $40,000 a year off of just letting my money sit in the bank at 4%. And there are a lot of places you can get better than 4%.
Right.
But
so why would
I work
back-breaking labor
from sun up to sundown
to make
7 days
thing.
a week, to make less than.
Right.
To make less than that.
So the answer is part of what's going on here, folks, right, with this challenge of beef prices going up is that because of some different market conditions that repressed overall production and margins have now shrunk even more, it's not worth people that are in the business. It's not worth it. It's not. I mean, why would I raising more isn't going to. I mean, yeah, it's going to equal more money, but the labor, the time, and it's not as simple as saying, well, I'll just raise more, because a lot of times if your operation's already at capacity, you can't just raise more cattle. The only way to raise more cattle would be to have more facility. So now you're talking about huge capital investment, right? Massive upfront investments for basically something that, I mean, unless something changes, you're not going to see the returns in your lifetime. And again, if that's the case, why do that? Why not do something else? There's lots of things that you could put your, right? I mean, like, why not buy real estate or get a CD with a bank? Like, why would you raise cattle?
What's the likelihood of us continuing to have beef or being able to afford it? Because in a market economy, if people are going to produce less of something, the price will go higher. And it's already too high for me to buy. I mean, I do buy more chicken and pork because when I walk by the beef aisle, it's just absurd to this old man who was around in the Stone Age of 1979 to pay the price for beef. I don't like paying the price for pork and chicken, but it's not as much money out of my pocket as if I decide to buy beef. So what's the future of beef in the American diet?
Keep it here on The State of Us, and we'll be right back. When you first saw the title for this show, Beef, the Dying American Dream, ? You were probably a little bit confused, and rightfully so. But then when I tell you that in 2005, it cost just under $500 to raise a cow, and the return could be about $100 on that cow, or to put it simply, they could earn about $600 for that cow, which leaves them with a profit margin of about $100, right? 2005. But today, $700 to raise that cow, and you can only sell it for $712. So you can make $12. So you can make $100 in 2005 raising cattle per cow, or I can make $12 today. So when we talk about beef, is it the dying American dream? As a staple of what we come to think of and know as this thing that is ubiquitous in American culture, is it going to stick around?
Well, and when I go to the grocery store and I have my food budget for the week.
Is beef going to make it in there?
Exactly. That's my point. Is I walk by it, I see it, my mouth waters, and I'm like, am I going to put this back and this back and this back so I can have 1 or 2 meals of beef? And I'm pretty well off. I mean, compared to the average American, right. I think I've got the money to spend, but now you're getting into my discretionary income if I want to eat beef on
what I want to spend it on?
The number of days that I want to eat it. Mm-hmm. And right now, when I go to the grocery store, the answer is no. I don't buy as much beef as I used to because I can't afford it. So to the point of, it doesn't sound like the price is ever going to come down because there's no, I say no, but there's very little profit margin in raising beef. So therefore, the amount of beef for sale is probably going to constrict, which means the price will continue to go up. But again, right? 1979, and maybe somebody needs to fact check me on this, but in my memory, I could get a Big Mac at McDonald's for 99 cents.
Hey, Levi, what's a Big Mac today at McDonald's? Do you know? Levi's our resident, for people that don't know, he's our new associate recording producer, and he's a big fan of McDonald's. He really likes to go there. So we're seeing if he has that quick information for us.
I wouldn't say I'm the greatest fan, but if I had to put an estimate for the Big Mac today, it'd probably be $5 or $6.
Is it? I thought it was $4.59.
Folks, they're both looking at me. I am not the right person. How many times have you eaten at McDonald's, Levi, in the past 2 weeks?
5, 6, maybe times.
How many times have I eaten at McDonald's in the past 2 weeks?
3.
0.
I'm only at 1.
So by that measure, you are definitely the
resident expert.
The resident expert. That's right. Lance is the senior resident historian here at True Chat, and you can be the senior resident McDonald's professor.
I went to McDonald's because they had a 2 for $6 deal, with Big Mac, quarter pounder, or whatever. And so I went for a second time, and I ordered it, and the young person who took my order said, "We don't have that special anymore." And I said, "Oh, I'm out of here because your prices are too expensive. I can't afford it at that price." I see why it's that high, but again, who can afford to go on a regular basis? Are we seeing, back to the theme of the show, is it the dying American dream to go out to eat fast food restaurants? And that's not just, don't give me this 7% inflation and don't give me President Biden screwing up the fast food industry. The cheap hamburger is 4 times more than what I remember it when my children were growing up. Uh-huh. I could buy it on sale. The 73% lean hamburger was 99 cents a pound on sale, right? Yep. Not back in 1979, but when I was raising kids at the turn of the century, when I had children. It's now on sale, almost $4 a pound.
Yeah.
At our local grocery store. That's the sale price.
Yes.
That's not.
Well, you get a deal.
That's not 7% inflation.
No.
Okay. That's a 400% markup.
Yep.
Okay, folks. So don't get political on me and say, well, if you had voted for Trump, you wouldn't have these high baloney, okay? That 400% increase doesn't cover the 7% inflation rate.
We should have talked about, the question that comes to mind, right, is this, it sounds bad. It's bad for ranchers, that's for sure. It sounds bad if you like beef. Is the fact that beef could be becoming out of reach for people, is this a bad thing? And before we answer that,
I hear my daughter's answer.
Before we answer that question, or before we hear Lance's daughter's answer to that question, I just want folks to know as we proceed through the rest of the show, I was in the cattle business. I raised beef cattle for many years. I cared for them. I ate them. I still eat beef today. I'm sharing that as a, for better or worse, because some of our listeners will be very upset by that, I'd imagine, and some will think that's great. But everything that I say from here forward, I want people to have that context of it's not, at least on this particular program today, we're not just two, academics that don't have any idea what it means to raise, cattle, just for perspective. Because I think it can be difficult. We do programs like this a lot, and Lance and I don't always have experience in fields, and I know that can be frustrating to people, but this is one where we do have somebody on here that does, so I want our listeners to know that.
We're trying to keep Justin from going into the weeds, folks, and keep the show interesting.
Yes.
Because he can dissect this, and he did with our intern off air.
We did the show that nobody wanted to hear before this show, and that's where I, explain the 50 factors that go into the pricing of beef and all of that.
Okay, what my daughter would tell me.
Yes.
Dad, this is the best thing for your health.
She listens to the show, doesn't she?
She does.
Okay. So we're going to see how accurate this is. 'Cause
Oh,
you get an
wow,
angry phone
she's-
call, it'll be.
No. She wants me to eat, and she's been on a kick for 5 or 6 years of me to eat ground turkey.
Ground turkey.
Yeah.
Yummy.
And I have. I will occasionally.
It's good this show
And,
is recorded. There's no video.
But I can't acquire a taste for it because there's not the fat in it, which is why she doesn't. Which is why she wants me to eat it, because all that fat in the red meat.
Yes.
But you substitute it in with your spaghetti sauce, or you make a turkey burger instead, and it's okay. But it's not. And
It's turkey.
But-
That's what it is.
Right.
It's like,
why eat it on Thanksgiving and Christmas?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
It's
turkey.
good then.
slathered in butter
Yeah.
and with gravy. It's pretty tasty.
Or if I go to, a grill place somewhere, like around your city barbecue,
Yeah.
I'll get the grilled turkey. I love it because you can dunk some barbecue sauce on it.
Turkey is really just what I think we sum up what Lance is saying is turkey's really just a vessel to shovel other things that taste better into your
Into
body.
the turkey, right? But I would look at her and say, honey, I know you want me to be healthy, but it's too daggone expensive. But now with the price of beef, when I walk through the meat aisle,
Turkey's looking more attractive.
the turkey, if I want to have a meal where I would normally put beef, turkey is a viable option if you're just looking at price. So
your daughter's saying this is a good thing because it'll be better for your health.
right. And overall for everybody's health.
Ah.
Because less red meat will make us healthy. It won't clog your arteries as much.
So Justin has like 50 things I could say about that. We are going to talk about a couple of those things, and I promise not the boring ones. But is red meat bad for us? And again, that central question, is this a good or bad thing that this is happening to beef? Keep it here on The State of Us. We'll be right back. In 2005, you could make about $100 per cow that you raised. You could make about $100 per cow. So, hey, if I've got, 1,000, 10,000 cattle, I can make a little money. Today, I can only make $12. Went from being able to make $100 a cow in 2005 to less than 20 years later, I can only make $12 a cow. Crazy. As somebody that raised cattle, just crazy. I'm not. I'm definitely have the utmost empathy for people who are still raising cattle. I am not, because the money is not there. Not like it, it is, but not like it used to be, and not even close.
Right.
And it's not even in the same ballpark that it used to be in. It's not like, oh, there was a 20%, decrease. It's like, no, there was like an 88% decrease. That's a pretty big.
And that's not in real money.
Right, and that's not in real money because we're not adjusting for inflation. It's even more than that. It's insane. It's a huge change in what you can make raising beef. So, is it good or bad that this is happening? Well, it's definitely bad for the ranchers, right? We can say that. For people who make a living doing this is bad. I hope that there's no listeners out there that disagree. Obviously, if you're trying to have a business and operate it on this model, this isn't a great business to be in right now. So that's bad if you're in that business. Is it good for society? Well, we left off the last segment talking about less red meat would probably be better for society. Well, that is true. As a blanket statement, right? If we decrease the amount of red meat that society was eating, we would probably be a healthier society. But that goes back to the quality of the red meat that we eat. And I don't want to get super into the weeds with anybody, but I spent a lot of time on this because of the way that I raised cattle versus the way that most cattle that you have probably eaten are raised. How we raise animals makes a big difference to the quality of the end product and also its effect on your health and the planet. Those are just facts. If you put junk into something that's going to become your food, then your food is going to have more junk in it. If you put less junk in it, then that food is going to have less junk in it. very simplistic. There's plenty of food scientists out there who could, dissect that better. But the short version of that is if you raise red meat correctly, red meat can actually be an important part of keeping your good cholesterol in a healthy range that actually can help you lose weight and help you maintain healthy body composition. Most people think of meat as, only something that's going to cause you to gain weight either by bulking and protein or, through fat.
And I will go into the weeds a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this is my interpretation of what you've taught me over the last 12 years. Mm-hmm. That if we it's just like the whole nature thing, organic, free range. If we let cattle free range on grasses, mm-hmm. then that's what they are through nature. That's what they were designed to eat. And now it would take longer. We couldn't produce as much, but because they would be eating,
and it wouldn't taste the way that people expect.
Right. And they would eat natural grasses instead of being fed the mixed cornmeal stuff that's done on the cattle feeding ranges, which aren't ranges, they're concrete slabs covered in dirt. Fill as many cows as you can in there and fill all this ground meal into the feeders so that they can fatten up as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
That's junk in, junk out. But we can't make any money off of raising it. I mean, unless I wanted to turn 2 or 3 head of cattle loose on my 2 acres, and every 2 or 3 years butcher one,
which is why we developed. And
then that would be, and I would be eating the healthier, right? Because that's the problem is we feed them the junk, the GMO. Is that?
Well, a lot of what they eat, yes, is genetically modified stuff. But being genetically modified isn't inherently making it less nutritional. It's the fact that their diet is consisting of, like I told Levi before the show, I think the best way to think about it is, if you're a listener out there and you've eaten fast food, what is your body doing, right, if you eat fast food 7 days a week? There's some nutritional value in fast food. Not much, right? A lot of fast food, there's not very much nutritional value in, but there is nutrition. You're not going to die. Well, you'll die eventually, but you're not going to die in a week from eating fast food. Like you can sustain on that, but your body's probably going to be doing some gross, nasty things,
Because even doing it that way,
the ranchers is what's resulting in this.
A livable wage.
Right.
Off of it, and with prices high, right? Prices are high, and doing it the best way we can, assembly line meat production per se, people still can't afford it.
Yep.
So, when you put those things together, it is going to die out, right?
Unless some kind of intervention takes place, I don't see how other than a highly premium market, right? Like, that's to say, folks, 20 years from now, are you saying there's not going to be any beef? No, I'm not saying there's not going to be any beef. Is there going to be beef like we know it today? Not unless something changes.
But it's like when I remember pre-pandemic, all the rage was Kobe beef from Japan, right? And it was like when our beef was $4 or $5 a pound, it was like $40 or $50.
Yeah.
We'll have it around
right
in that form or fashion.
Beef will exist.
Right.
But will it exist? And the other side of that is
But it won't be a middle class food.
No, probably not. Or if it is, it will be some sort of beef imitation. It won't be from a breathing, living cow.
Wait a minute.
The way that we
are you
think
getting
about
into the veggie burger?
Well,
whatever.
Plant alternatives, but I'm also getting into what you and I talked about. I probably like a year ago now on the show, some of the first successful attempts at developing real. And it was relative right here. Relative.
Is AI going to take over my beef production?
Maybe. Is developing a burger in a lab, and you might say, well, what? But like grown from actual animal cells. The difference is you don't have to grow the whole animal. I think that side of it, right, is to say that unless something major does change, the beef industry as we know it is going to look a lot different in 20 years, a lot different, because it's not sustainable on its current path. It's not worth the people who we rely on to take care of the animals that we have to produce the industry. They can't do it unless we change something. I mean, if it continues this trend, pretty soon you'll be upside down, right? And there already are ranchers that are. That's why they go out of business. You will be upside down to raise cattle.
Come, I'll fire you up for the last 2 minutes.
Oh.
This is all yours. All of my nature freaks and Save the Planet people, they're just jumping for joy now.
Sure, Rob.
Because you just told them.
The climate's safe.
The climate is going to be safer now because we're going to have stop the beef industry as it currently stands in the next 20 years.
The beef industry.
Good or bad?
Well.
Right or wrong?
Yeah.
Come on. Right or wrong?
The beef industry is not the reason that the planet is dying.
Oh, okay.
Our industrial food complex and human consumption is the reason the world is dying. There shouldn't be as many cattle as there are in the United States. There shouldn't be as many chickens. There shouldn't be as many pigs. They would never naturally have reached the numbers they've reached. The reason they have is because we decided to eat them. And to do that, we created a mass production chain. And that's what we did with cattle. And that system is failing. So will it be better for the planet if cattle are reduced in numbers? Sure. Yes, it will be. That's just scientific fact. You know, if there are less cattle, they will do less damage to the earth. Could cattle do less damage to the earth and us still have a lot of cattle? Yes. The way that we grow them, the way that we raise them has a big impact on their impact on the planet. The USDA estimates the total United States herd of cattle at about 92 million cattle.
Okay, so from now on, folks, when people say crazy amount, they're
92
saying
million.
92 million
That's
is the
a
number.
crazy amount.
That's the crazy amount.
92 million.
So if you want to use that,
that's
talking
right.
to your family and friends.
That's the official definition.
That's right.
It has to be at least 92 million.
It has to be at least 92 million of them. So basically the distance from the sun to the earth is a crazy amount because it's 93 million miles.
That's right.
Don't I remember that?
So
that's a crazy amount of miles.
The number of cattle in the U.S. and the distance from the earth to the sun.
If we lined them up.
We could get... Well, one cow's not a mile long.
Oh, okay. All right.
That'd be an impressive cow.
That would be a crazy amount.
That would be a crazy cow. So now you think that's crazy. How many chickens in the U.S.? Producer, what's your guess? How many chickens? How many chickens in the U.S.? You think 92 million's crazy? You ain't seen nothing yet.
500 million.
200 million.
You guys aren't even close.
Is there a billion?
You aren't even close. Higher.
Higher than 1 billion?
Higher than a billion.
1.5 billion.
There are 9.2 billion chickens in the U.S.
There's more chickens in the United States than there are people in the world.
Yeah. We like our chickens. Actually, China, fun fact, China actually has less chickens than we have, even though they have way more people. We really like chicken, Levi. I don't know if you've gathered that or not yet, but we love some chicken.
Well, when Levi goes to McDonald's, he always has a chicken sandwich in his bag.
Yeah.
He may have other things.
He's got some beef too, maybe.
Yeah, but he's got other things. But every bag of McDonald's
McChicken
has a McChicken sandwich in it.
That's right. Well, he's keeping those 9.2 billion chickens going.
Yeah. Well, that's another.
That's a crazy,
that's
crazy,
another show.
crazy amount.
Is that really chicken that he's eating from McDonald's?
Well, let's not. Is it beef? Blah blah, food, whatever. If you're going to McDonald's, do you really care what's in it? Not to upset everybody
better have
at the
some
end of the
fries.
show, but I mean,
you better have some fries.
I mean, seriously, like when I go to Wendy's, I don't go to McDonald's very often, but if I go to Wendy's, usually that's a day where I'm not too concerned about what I'm putting into my body, because if I was, I wouldn't be at Wendy's.
Where's the beef?
Where's the beef? That's right, 100% never frozen, baby. Like that makes it better.
I actually had Wendy's today for lunch.
Yeah?
I did. Because I wasn't.
Usually you don't do that. That's rich people stuff.
Well, I wasn't in Urbana.
Can't afford Wendy's.
No, well, I got the $5 bag.
Oh. And you weren't in Urbana.
And I wasn't in Urbana.
Our Wendy's is awful,
So I
folks.
actually went to a Wendy's that could be
Atrocious.
called a fast food restaurant.
Oh, okay.
And
ours is not.
The meat was fresh. The buns were fresh.
Yep. Actually, really none of our fast food restaurants in this town are fast food.
No.
I guess they're fast because it's all relative, right? And now that they're all slow, it seems some of them seem fast.
That's true.
But
There is that.
there is nothing about, like, if I think back to when I would drive through McDonald's, like with my parents, which wasn't very often, but like when we would do it, you know, the time that it would take us to get through the drive-through versus today, I mean, it was night and day. You know, I could have gone into McDonald's back then, sat down, eaten, and come out faster than you can sit in the drive-through and get something from McDonald's.
Talk about
part of the
bad-
reason I don't go.
Talk about bad for the environment, right?
Well, yeah, all these people sitting in the, you know, freaking drive-through
all
with
those
their engines
fumes and
running,
these old cars.
you know, waiting on our McDonald's because we're so slow that we can't get you through the line. Levi just sits there watching some TikTok while he's waiting on his McDonald's.
And doesn't worry.
No.
Doesn't bother him at all that it took 20 minutes.
That's right.
And how much gasoline
Well,
did
it's always taken. I mean, you know.
he doesn't know any differently. Yeah.
That's right.
He's not from the Stone
This is
Age.
fast food.
Yeah.
No, it's slow food.
Fastest Wendy's
Well, and that's part of it.
in the world is in Piqua.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been over there.
No.
But there's only one
to make a
burger.
special
There's only
trip.
one burger place to eat.
Yeah.
And it's fast and fresh.
Fast, fresh.
In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah, very healthy.
I'm going back.
Incredibly healthy.
I'm going back. I'm going back in October.
going back.
Gonna get some more In-N-Out Burger.
That'll be your daughter will be thrilled with your your daughters and your wife. They'll all love your health choices. Beef for the win. I don't know, folks. This is a tough one, especially if you like beef. I guess get it while you can, maybe, or maybe you already can't get it.
I'm saving up.
Yeah.
Yeah, for October. Eat all my beef in In-N-Out Burgers.
You're cutting
for the year.
You're
I'm
leveling
cutting
out there, right?
Yep. And all the money I would spend on beef,
Okay.
I'm putting in a jar so that when I go out
You can
west,
blow it.
I can blow
a
it
day
in In-N-Out
on a
Burger.
burger.
Yep.
That In-N-Out burger. All right, why do we do this show, Lance?
Well, because we have a mission here at True Chat,
To aggravate Justin.
and that is to educate. Well, that too.
Okay.
But so we can educate people by providing honest, open, and respectful conversations.
My aggravation is just a bonus.
For me, it is because it's usually me that's getting aggravated.
Well, that's fun. See,
Yeah, it is fun to make you aggravated. But if you liked today's show, or even if you didn't, tell your friends about it because we like doing it, and they might enjoy it. And if they do, and say, "Well, yeah, that sounds kind of neat, and I liked it," but I just downloaded it from what you sent me, but where can I find it on my own? Tell them Spotify, Overcast, Stitcher, Apple Podcast, and everywhere podcasts are found.
The State of Us releases new episodes Tuesdays and Thursdays, first thing in the morning as a podcast. Those same episodes are heard on the weekends on AM and FM radio stations across the United States and parts of Canada. For The State of Us, I'm Justin T. Weller.
I'm Lance Jackson.
Special thanks to associate producer Levi LaForge. And thank you to senior producer Bradley Bush. And of course, our audience, because, without you, what's the point other than to rant. We'll see you next time. Be the change. Be sure to check out our website, thestateofus.org, for books, articles, and all the ways to tune in. thestateofus.org.